If I can have your attention, please. We're about to begin the services, Mrs. Sandra Gerrick. For those of you present here in the chapel, if you have a cell phone with you, please place it in the silent mode or turn it off completely. That would be appreciated. I want to welcome those of you who have joined us online as well. Immediately following the interment here at New Light Cemetery, you are all invited to a memorial luncheon at the Olive Garden Restaurant in Lincolnwood. It's at 3303 West Toohey Avenue, and that address is listed in the service folder. So following the service here, we will be proceeding to the gravesite. We'll have the interment service, and we will be walking since the cemetery is just very close. The following people have been selected to serve as pallbearers. At the conclusion of the service, I'll ask the following people to step forward: Greg Andrews, Aaron Wurzel, Brad Dennison, Scott Schultz, and Brody Schultz. Officiating at today's service is Rabbi Lisa Bellows from Congregation Bethel.
Hi, friends. To come here at this time for another time in such a short period is quite difficult. And we give honor to those who have passed, and we show up to life and what the time calls us for and to. Today we celebrate Sandra Gerrick's life as we also say goodbye. For Sandra's love that united us in life and which death cannot sever. For her companionship that we shared along life's path and which continues through the tenderness of memory, for the gifts of her heart and mind that brought us joy, laughter, happiness, and is now a precious remembrance. For all these and more, we give thanks. In this time of grief, it is possible in some measure to receive comfort from family and friends. There are so many of us here today. And also perhaps from the words of our psalmist, King David. King David was a man who wrote about, who struggled about issues of life and love, of loss and death. You have the 23rd Psalm on the inside cover of your leaflet. I'll offer some in Hebrew, and then if you wish, we'll join together. Adonai ro'i lo echsar, v'not deshe yerbiteni, al mei menachot yenachaleni. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Birth is a beginning and death a destination, but life is a journey, a going, a growing from stage to stage, from childhood to maturity and youth to age, from innocence to awareness and ignorance to knowing, from foolishness to discretion and then perhaps to wisdom, from weakness to strength or strength to weakness, and often back again, from health to sickness, and back we pray to health again, from offense to forgiveness, from loneliness to love, from joy to gratitude, from pain to compassion, and grief to understanding, from fear to faith, from defeat to defeat to defeat, until looking backwards or ahead, we see that victory lies not in some high place along the way, but in having made the journey, stage by stage, a sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning, and death a destination, but life is a journey, a sacred pilgrimage, made stage by stage, from birth to death, to life everlasting. And in the book of Ecclesiastes, we read that there's a time to keep silent and a time to speak, to share words and memories. We invite to come forward Sandra's great nephew Brad, and then her nephew Mark.
Prepared? So this was written by my sister Erica, who couldn't be here. She's out in Singapore. A note for Auntie Nana. Any photo under the definition of kind eyes should be of Auntie Nana's eyes. We call her Nana because my older sister couldn't pronounce Sandra and the name stuck, and it was the best name. When I read a book and they use kind eyes as the description of a character, I picture Auntie's. She had the most beautiful, kind, blue eyes. No one can disagree with me. They were warm, welcoming, loving, with a radiance that reflected her beautiful and kind heart. No matter what she was going through, and she went through a lot, she could just look at you and you'd feel the warmth emanating from her eyes. And it would just feed through right into your soul. And it always felt so good. Let's not forget the rest of her. Those deep, stunning, kind eyes were part of her beautiful, smiling face. And boy, did she have great hair. She was so beautiful. Our Auntie Nana was always a blast to be around, even up until a few days before she passed. When I called to speak to her in the hospital and then hospice, I would hear the nurses laughing in the background, and you knew Auntie was just being her usual self. In one of our last conversations, I asked if she was really ready to go. And she replied, "Ready, willing, and able, whenever whoever is in charge gets their act together." All we saw were smiles, and all we heard was laughter from her. I can cue up the sound of her laugh in my mind vividly at any time. It was so infectious. If you had a problem, Auntie always knew what to say. Sometimes it was, screw 'em. But often it was just a few words that held a lot of meaning, and you knew then that you should just let it go. Whatever it was wasn't important enough to waste your time obsessing over. You were too special, and you were good enough to just let it go. Our Auntie Nana was also a good storyteller. She always painted such vivid pictures of her and her excursions with Audrey, her sister and best friend. Their travels, how Audrey was always getting them inches away from danger or into a fight on their trips around the world. How they tried all those ridiculous classes like belly dancing and tap dancing. Sometimes they'd laugh so hard together, goofing off so much they'd get kicked out. Frankly, they might even find a way to get kicked out of wherever they are now. But they loved these adventures because they were together, and they're together now, which is what she wanted. We've now lost the twin matriarchs in the family, the last of their generation, but there is some peace in knowing the two of them are together, probably having a blast, floating all over the world, seeing all there is to see. Auntie and I have this greeting we'd do when we saw each other and when we'd leave each other and a few times in between. We'd kiss each other's foreheads and then left cheek and then right cheek and then the nose and finally the chin, busting out into hysterical laughter because the chin kiss was always so awkward. But we loved it. It was our thing, and I'm going to miss that so much. It's funny, Brad now, didn't realize that they had this greeting, but I must have seen it when I was young, and so Auntie made one for me. It was much the same, but we added a thing where we'd rub noses and say, "Newsy, newsy." But unlike Erica, I matured over time, and by 40, we were only rubbing noses and saying, "Newsy, newsy." And I, too, am really going to miss that. Auntie, you were the sun coming out on a cloudy day, the rainbow after a storm, and that piece of glitter that would transfer from my face to yours, just sparkling in the right light at the right moment, and sometimes the wrong moment. I will always see you in those things, and I will always be blessed to have these memories. To our beautiful, wonderful, joyful, kind, loving Auntie Nana, our lives won't be the same anymore. I didn't think we'd lose you so soon. I'm just heartbroken. You were fabulous. Just fabulous, as you would say. I love, love, love you forever and ever and ever. Your adoring Erica.
I want to thank you for coming here today in honor of my Aunt Sandra. I don't know of any two people in the family who are closer than the sisters, Audrey, my mother, and Sandra, my aunt. I'm speaking to my brother and my sister, and to Wendy and Sherry. I just want you to know that our parents, our mothers, gave us the greatest gift imaginable. Not just love, but something tangible. And that was their flawless command, near flawless command of the English language, which they imparted to us, which formed the foundation for whatever success we have enjoyed in life. So I say goodbye to Audrey, but today is for Sandra. And so I say thank you, Auntie. Thank you for what you taught us. Thank you for being who you are. And now it's time to say goodbye, Sandra, Tarsh, Gerrick. Farewell, Auntie. Farewell. Thank you.
such a beautiful honor to Sandra and also to hear about her. And it's not always the case that we can smile and laugh. That's her doing. Sandra grew up on the west side of Chicago, and she went to Austin High School. She got married at 19, and at 20 had Wendy, and 5 years later had Sherry. We know that family was most important to her. Nothing was more important to her, and no one was more important to her than her mother, who lived until 95 years of age, and her sister Audrey. The three of them were a formidable team. Nothing could stop the three of them. They even looked alike, and they had no fear. They were outspoken and strong when it was commonplace for women to be seen and not heard. Sandra was one of the strongest people you ever met. She raised Wendy and Sherry while their father worked. And in 1983, Sandra divorced Phil, as she was an independent, strong woman who knew and who wanted what all of life could offer. Sandra was a world traveler, as we heard. I understand that they had a specialty of finding coups wherever they were, or trouble wherever they went. They handled it flawlessly. Russia, the Casbah, Germany when the wall came down, China, Australia, New Zealand, India, the world. Not many countries, maybe Vietnam, where they had not gone. Sandra also loved watching Jeopardy, and she was thrilled if she got like 2 or 3 of the questions right in that half-hour show. She had a phenomenal sense of humor. It could not be beat. And as family was most important, it is family and friends, we who carry on Sandra's legacy. Legacy of doing and caring for each other, of loving each other, of being strong and of good courage. Sandra would give you the shirt off her back. She gave to you. She took you in. She cared about you. No questions asked. So now we do the same. Her legacy continues through our own generosity. Sandra didn't have much, but there was always enough. She was always available to you. Sandra's lifelong friends were like family. She had cancer for 6 years, and the treatments weren't working, and she refused to do more. And as we heard, she said it was time. It was time. And when Audrey passed, we knew that Sandra would probably be soon after. We heard they were like twins. Nothing could come between them. They are together now. And yes, perhaps laughing and even getting into trouble, and hopefully they're eating some chocolate ice cream. And mostly that they're at peace together with the ones they love. Sandra was a righteous woman. May her name and her memory be for us, for Israel, and all the world a blessing. We say together, amen. Psalm 23 was a psalm to remind us, the mourners, that we are never alone. This next prayer, called El Malei Rachamim, is a prayer just for Sandra, that she be received with great love and compassion. If you're able, please rise. El Male Rachamim Shochen Bamromim Hametzei Menacha Nechona Tachat Hanfei HaShechina Im Kedoshim Utorim Kezohar Harakia Mazhirim Et Nishmat Sandra Gerrick Shalcha Le'olama Bahal Harachamim Yastirea Beseter Kenefav Le'olamim Beitor Bitor HaChayim Et Nishmata Adonai Hu Nachalata B'tanuach B'shalom Al Mishkava V'nomar Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Sandra, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let her find refuge in the shadow of your wings. Let her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is her inheritance. May she rest in peace. We say together, Amen.